Welcome to a special presentation of Sellout Crowd, Conversations with Coach. I'm Bob Stoops. I'm taking time to talk with my friends and colleagues in the sports world to get caught up and share stories. But first, I want to pay special thanks to these sponsors, Rose Hill Builders, Laser Light Skin Clinic, and Louie's Bar and Grill. Today, I'm joined by my good buddy of over 23 years. I call him Big T, but the rest of the world knows him as the Big Dog Daddy, Toby Keith. Big T, thanks for joining me here today, buddy. We got a lot to talk about, my friend.
Well, I don't know if we can do it 15 minutes, but we'll try. No.
No, we're going to spread this out for the whole
Okay.
week for 30 or 45 minutes. We go back so much, and you got such a story, and we're going to let the whole world know about it. Right off the bat, a guy that's got over 40 million albums, not records or not albums sold. And I want to start with 11 years you went on the USO tours. Right off
Yeah.
the bat, that's such a gift to those people. And those weren't a couple of days. Those were a couple of weeks when you did those USO tours. Toby, talk about that.
Thanks, Bob. We started about 2001 or two, somewhere in there. And for the next 11 years, we joined forces with USO because the USO has done it for so long, and they don't pay their artists. You go, you just go for free, and that's the route we chose to take. And so our group went over there. We chose 2 weeks a year in May or April or May. We'd go to Iraq a week and Afghanistan a week. We'd land on a big base like in Iraq. We'd land in Baghdad or Tikrit or Bagram's in Afghanistan. But we'd land in those big bases over there, and then we would hub out during the day. And me and my buddy Scotty and my little group, Mitch, and there was 4 or 5 of us, and we'd go down range. We'd play for 25 guys at a little base, and then jump to another one and do it. We'd come in and play with the band on the big one, and then we would move to Tikrit, and we would do the same thing. We'd hub out, and so for 14 days, 11 years, we did 240 shows, and I made so many relationships, and got to see so many things that people don't normally get to see. Historical places, and it was a great learning thing. It was a great soul-inspiring thing to do, and we loved it.
What a gift to those servicemen. I mean, have a chance to relax, get a little bit lighthearted, listen to you for a little
Yeah,
while. That had to be enjoyable just to give them that gift.
yeah, and I was influenced over there because I wanted to go in and it be fun. So I didn't just want to go in and do American Soldier and stuff like that all the time. So through the years, I developed a song list that was inspired over there, and I wrote some really funny songs that were comical that only they would know. That the lyric in the song was only lyric that they would know, and so those became very popular among the service folks. And to this day, every single show I play, they're there, and we let them come backstage, and we rekindle those old relationships and tell stories. They've always want to tell their story, about where they were when they saw me. But even my anesthesiologist at MD Anderson, when I was down there getting treatment, she signed up for all 5 of my surgeries, and she was a Marine, and she had saw me in Afghanistan and Iraq, and she said, "I signed up for you because I want to make sure you're taken care of." So
How about
uh,
that? Now,
it come full
I,
it come full circle.
yeah, and I know you go back to your father was in the military. Talk about your dad.
I think he went to the service to quit so he didn't have cut broom corn in Lindsay, Oklahoma anymore. But that was a broom corn capital of the world, and I think his dad would make him get up before school and go work a little and send him to school and come back, change into his work clothes, and of course go again till dark 30. But he went over, and the whole reason we went on the USO tour, he had just passed away in a car wreck the year before, and so he'd always asked me, And I was really, really busy out there trying to create my career. And he'd always ask me why I don't go overseas to play for the troops. And I said, I will. And I never got to do it in front of him. So I said, when he passed away, I said, I'm going to go. And
Yeah.
so we signed up. But he lost his eye over there and came home and he never did. I was 17 or 18 years old before I knew that discolored eye was blind. He never complained about it. He was really, really, no one solicitors couldn't get in our house or knock on our door, but a veteran administration or a veteran association could show up, and he'd allow them in the house, give them coffee, and support their cause. So I tried to make that live on through him.
Yeah. How about that? Now, I think you've told me now all your time over there in Afghanistan and all those places over those 11 years, you were shot at a few times in a helicopter, weren't you?
Yeah, and the reason we didn't, we don't really talk about it very much because we want people to go over there. We don't want to discourage anybody to go. But in 240 shows, when you're leaving fire bases and stuff, you're just in a military helicopter, and
Right.
nothing big, no RPGs or nothing, but small arms fire and stuff like that coming in and out. General Fruger was with us one time. He was our liaison, and we came out of Mosul East and we're headed to Mosul West, and that's probably 3 million people there, I think. So we were going to play the east side and then fly to the west side, and we were flying sideways. And I'm like looking at him, I'm like, well, why in the hell are we flying sideways? And he had the headset on, I didn't. And so then we straightened back up, and he held his finger up, said, like I'll tell you when we get there. He said we'd come under small arms fire as we were leaving. And I was like, well, it'd been nice to give a cowboy a shotgun or something. Dang. But it it's
Yeah.
it was they're going to take care of you when you go over there. You're in the best hands, and when you learn to trust them. That first 2 or 3 years, I didn't go downrange. I
Yeah.
just played the big green zones, and everybody can do that. Senators go in there, and dignitaries all the time. But as the years progressed, and I started to trust them, they were like, "You want to go downrange?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, let's go."
Cowboy that you are. But Big T, everybody wants to know, of course, update how you're feeling. You must be feeling good because I know you've scheduled a couple of shows in Las Vegas. Talk about how you're feeling and the shows coming up.
I feel pretty good. It's a roller coaster all the time with this stuff. I have the resources, financially and otherwise, to get the best treatments I can get, and they're taking great care of me. And I'm getting all the latest stuff you can get. And in fact, I'm going tomorrow to Florida to see another guy down there that's got some other kind of treatments, and I'm trying them all. I'm throwing the kitchen sink at, but I have a big enough platform that if it can do me some good, then maybe I'm seeing all the pitfalls in this. Cancer is an island, and you're on a boat, and nobody goes over to that island when you don't have it. And as soon as you crash land on it, there's a lot of boats there. Everybody's got this stuff, and it's more than people think. So I was like, if I can survive this and live to tell my story, maybe I can save somebody else's life.
That's awesome. Well, you're always there lending a hand to people. But here, most recently, you got the People's Choice Icon Award, and you sang "Don't Let the Big Man In." And
Oh man,
it has gone to number one, right?
right.
Shortly after you given that live performance. Talk about a couple of things, just that going to number one, and everybody wants to know the story of how you wrote that song and why you wrote it.
So about 3 or 4 years ago, I'd been invited several years ago through, you'd been there too, through that Pebble Beach celebrity tournament. Clint Eastwood was a big part of that. Well, he has a course there in Monterey called Tehama. And he had invited me out and said, if you'll come, you'll be my partner in the event for 3 days. And I wasn't going to pass that up. Everybody knows Clint Eastwood. And of course, I go way back when I was a child. My mom said, your brother and sister would watch cartoons and you'd sit cross-legged in the floor and watch Rawhide. So I go way back with being a fan of Clint, and we were playing golf, and somebody said his birthday was Monday, and this was a Saturday. And I said, "What are you going to do to celebrate your birthday, Clint?" He said, "I'm going to go shoot a movie called The Mule in Georgia." And I said, "What keeps you going?" And he said, "I just try to be productive every day and don't let that old man in." And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, and being a songwriter, I was like, "Wow, what an idea!" So I came home and was literally so focused on that song for several days that we were driving down the road. My wife said she was over there talking to me. We were going into town to eat dinner, and she said, "You didn't hear a word I just said, did you?" And I said, "No." And she's been through this before, and she goes, "Why?" And I said,
Wrote
I'm
a few
working on that."
songs, I think.
Huh?
You've
Yeah,
wrote a few songs.
yeah. I said, "Well, I'm working on that song," and she just threw her hands up, and said, "Never mind then. It's not time to talk to you because it's like I had it circling the boat, but I didn't and it hooked, but I didn't have it in the boat yet." And so when I got it done, I sent it to him, and I said, and I knew he was doing a movie, but I just wanted to send him the song to thank him for the inspiration for writing what I thought was a great song. And the next day he called me back. He said, "You know what's funny is they call me the old man in this movie the whole way, and I'm going to put this song in my movie." So I was like, "Good." He goes, "What do I need to do?" I said, "Nothing." He goes, "I'm going to pay you or not." I said, "Just it's yours. Just put it in there." And so
Now,
he did, and it didn't. The movie wasn't very big, but it's right at the very end of the movie where it rolls into credits, and he played the whole thing. The timing for this the other night at the People's Choice Icon on NBC was Dick Clark's son Rack was the producer, and he's the one that chose this song. And I was going to do another song. Blake Shelton had to sing one of mine and then present me with the icon. And I was going to do something up tempo and fun. And he said, "No, I want you to do this." So they were right. The timing was perfect, and it affected everybody enough because they're words to live by. And with the situation I've been going through, it really resonated with the people. So it went right straight to the top.
yeah, no doubt. And I know I was lucky enough, and Carol, my wife, and a bunch of our friends to go to New York when you won the song. You got inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, which was
Mm-hmm.
really cool. What a great night! And I know the pride you take in writing songs, and not just singing songs, but being able to write them, produce them, all of that, and just talk about the pride in doing that. It's such a gift.
Well, the recording industry didn't know, the music industry didn't know is whether I'd have been an artist or not, it wouldn't have mattered. All I wanted to be was a songwriter. So all the other stuff was secondary to me. So when I went in the Worldwide Songwriters Hall of Fame and then I went in the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, both times I said, these are the only two things I ever wanted. These were my Super Bowls. You know what I mean? These were the two things that I wanted to be known for. And accomplishing those things over a 30-year career was the acme of the paramount of the whole thing. And I still mean it. It's the bloodline of the industry. Most people don't write that sing, and I just always wanted to sing my own songs, and I was fortunate enough to have a vehicle to deliver them.
Now you've got an album coming out of strictly songs that are only you wrote. When will that
Right.
be released?
I'm not sure it's coming out pretty quick, but they've been. I've seen all the pressers on it. I know that it's coming, and I noticed during that NBC event that they kept talking about 100% songwriters. So there's a thing we do as writers to where you write by yourself, and then with your couple of your buddies that you meet through the years that are great writers that you trust and that know what you're trying to accomplish. They'll come to you with ideas, or you can go to them with ideas, and you can sit down, and it's a joy. The beauty about writing a song with somebody else is when you know when you've written a smash. You know what I mean? You know when you've wrote something very good. Even if it's not a smash, you know that you've written a great song. And you celebrate right there on the spot. You're like, we got that done, and kind of high five. When you write one by yourself, it's like hitting a hole in one by yourself. There's no one there to celebrate with. So, but through the years, I've wrote a lot by myself and co-wrote with a few people, a handful of people that were very close to me. And I just got word that album comes out November 3rd.
Awesome. November 3rd. Yeah, all of
Mhm.
the songs. All right. Talking about a hole in one. Back in the day, what would have been 98, maybe 99? You should have been a cowboy. Uh,
Yeah,
that's kind of your breakthrough hit, right? That kind
right.
of put you on the map. Was it 98?
Yeah, it
And
was 93. 93.
93. I'm sorry, I was a little
That's
late.
right.
But anyway, tell everyone, you've told me the story. I love it, of how you wrote, again, a hole in one song. You should have been a cowboy.
So I had I had my record deal, but the album wasn't out yet, and they were still wanting some more songs to finish it. And we went on a pheasant hunting trip with about 20 guys from Oklahoma City area, and one of them was a highway patrolman. And we went to Dodge City, Kansas, and we were going to hunt stubble fields. And Dodge City, of course, was the city where Gunsmoke was, sat with Marshall Dillon and all that. Well, there were a lot of things in that town that referred to that, like referenced that, like, and I don't remember the names of them, but they could have had a Festus barbecue or a Miss Kitty saloon or, something like that.
Right.
But anyway, being in Dodge City, you just think about the history of the place subconsciously. And we were in a steakhouse that had a band, bar, and a grill, and we're all in hunting clothes, and 20 guys sitting around the table, been stinky guys, been in a field all day hunting. And this cowgirl comes up to the bar, and one of the guys gets up and goes, I'm going to go two-step with her. And he takes off, and she shoots him down. He's about twice her age, and about 5 minutes later, a young cowboy comes in there and snatches her out on the dance floor, and that highway patrolman said, Bill, you should have been a cowboy. And I went, okay. So I went back to the hotel, and my manager was with me, and they had us all two to a room in this little motel. And everybody's wanting to go to bed and get up early and hunt. And he had had me bring a guitar up there. He said, they do a campfire thing. You may want to play some songs. And so I had that guitar, so I snuck in the bathroom and sat on the side of that old tub and shut the door and wrote that song about 20 minutes.
Seriously, 20 minutes. You should have been a
Yeah.
cowboy.
It just fell out of the sky. I just happened to be the only one up when it floated by, I guess.
That's beautiful.
Welcome to the 2023 FFB Awards highlights. And First Fidelity Bank is on a tear right now. Here we have them in their element, making some big Forbes Best in State Bank plays. Oh, wow. They're going, and they bring home OKC's Community Choice Award. They chew clef, then right, and dive right into victory with the Journal Records reader rankings. When FFB hits the field, they always play to win.
All right, let's go back. Everyone knows Big T the last 30 years and the success and just worldwide everything you've done. Let's talk about you as a young person, and I want to get to some football. I know what a football guy you are. You played young. The coming up years, what people really don't know.
Yeah.
What I think is really cool, growing up in Moore, Oklahoma. Born and needed, I think, and
Clinton.
yeah, and then, talk about those young years of being baseball and football. I know what a baseball fan you are as well as football, and being a Sooner. Did you go to any Sooner games as a young kid? That kind of stuff.
So I was born in Clinton, a little town north of Clinton's Arapahoe. We were living there. My dad was working on a drilling rig in Wheeler, Texas, across the line. And he had rented a house. Him and my mother had rented a house in Arapahoe, and there was another guy that worked in the oil field, and his young wife lived next door. And so she drove Mom into Clinton, and I was born there. And then my sister was born in Ardmore 2 years later. His rig moved down south. And then my little brother was born in Oklahoma City. So we were always around the area. And what's crazy is with all the success I've had, there's not much population in western Oklahoma. It's pretty sparse. But me and Jimmy Webb and Roger Miller, I mean, both those guys have monstrous catalogs. And all three of us were born in a little area out there, not very many miles apart.
How about that?
And so there must be something in the water out there. I don't know. But anyway, we settled in Moore in a grade school. My dad pitched on the Lindsay High School team. My grandpa pitched in the farm leagues, and my dad's sister's son, my cousin, pitched for Chickasha. And Dad said, "You're going to be a pitcher." And I couldn't throw a strike. and I had a lot of size to me. And so when I started playing football, that started translating to fun. And he wasn't all about that. And then so it took several years before he finally was cool with it. But I played football, got into high school, and was going to go to college to work on a petroleum engineer degree. And my dad was by now as Mid-Continent regional manager of a worldwide oil service company. And he said, we sign these kids out of college, and we pay them this much. He goes, "You can work for me 4 years, not go to college, and we'll send you to Houston to our school, and you'll learn our industry, what we do, and 2 weeks at a time, and we'll pay you to fly down there. And by the time 4 or 5 years of college go by or whatever to get your degree," he goes, "I can send you to Saudi Arabia, and you can be making 5 times that much money, or you can go anywhere in the world you want to work." But he said, so I agreed to do it, and had to give everything up. And I went and did it. And 3 years in, the oil boom crashed and went to nothing. And so I had to revert back and go, now what am I going to do? And he retired.
How old were you then?
I was 21. And the USFL had just started, and I'd regretted not playing ball. So I started working out. I was behind the curve a little bit, but I've been working out. I've been working hard in the oil field, so I used to lift an iron every day. So I was fit. So I started running again, and they had tryouts for a semi-pro league, the Oklahoma City Drillers. So I show up, and they had coaches there, and they took us all to your position coaches, and they looked at you, and then they either give you a try or they didn't then. And they took about 300 guys, and my wife was going. We had a young, Shelly was a 2-year-old baby, and we're living in an apartment over on 240. So I'm working in the day and then going to football practice at night. She's like, "What the hell are you doing?" I said, "I got to know. I just got to know." And so they cut it to 150, then 100, then 80, and then the next day 70. And I think they traveled with about 60. And they were down to their last 4 cuts. And every day I'd come in and she would go, "Well," and I go, "I made it." And so that last day, I go, "I'm probably going to get cut today." And I walked in and I looked like sad sack. She goes, she had dinner ready. And she goes, "Well, did you make it?" She said, "What happened?" I said, "I made it." And it was almost disappointing to her. She was hoping I said I didn't make it. So for the next 2 years, we traveled around and played Wichita, Dallas, Houston, Denver.
Right.
And we won the league. But the unique story out of that was that Blake Griffin's dad, Tommy Griffin, was 31 years old. And he was our middle linebacker. He was the inside linebacker.
I didn't know that. How about that? Yeah.
Yeah. And so here's all these young guys. I'm the only guy on the roster when you open the program up the game that doesn't have a college listed by his name. And it just said NA. And then and it had your age and size and weight out there. And there's Tommy, 31, 32 years old. And as nice a guy as he is today, and I've talked to him about this several times through Blake's social, playing at OU. But the beautiful part about Tommy is that he's so nice. Back then, I said he wasn't that nice. You looked into his helmet, and he was a mean cat on the field, but he was a great athlete.
Yeah. So you graduated. I like to say from Honky Tonk U. Were you
Yeah.
were you playing in between at this time? Like, when did you start going out and doing your gigs out in all the different honky tonks?
So we had started right in high school. We started. I was at a song. Saw this thing. I want to be a songwriter,
In
and
high
I knew
school?
these guys were. This was probably my senior year, junior senior. I started going over these older. There was older guys, and I noticed that these three or four guys would sit on the couch and write songs and play, and the other guys and girls would sit on the floor and around, have a beer, and they were just fascinated with these songs. And so I joined in one day, and there was a guy there, and he said, "Hey, we got a little band, and we need a singer, and we don't have a songwriter or lead guy or nothing, lead singer." So I went over in this guy's garage, and we started a little band together, and we're playing weddings and weekend bars, like where the water tower is, has my name on it.
Right.
Right underneath. That used to be an old rusty water tower until they painted it up nice and wanted to put
Your name.
mayor was not. Yeah. Well, right underneath that was a really, really bar. It was a dive, and it was called the Feed Store. And we would play in there for $35 and all the beer you could drink on Friday and Saturday. So we had little local gigs here on Friday and Saturday evening, in the night. And then we'd branch out and play another one over on Shields, but they were all dives. And so when the boom busted and the oil field was gone, we said, hey, maybe we can go regional. So we took it regional, and for 5 or 6 years we played everywhere between Phoenix to Little Rock, east and west, and from Kansas City to the Gulf of Mexico south.
Wow.
And we just were in 5 nights a week, come home for 2 days, drop a little money off, get in the van and trailer and roll again. We were pretty much gypsies until I got my record deal.
How about I'm assuming, I know Big T. You getting a scuff here and there. You didn't get in any bar fights through those years, did you?
Well, the band members, the old band members, when I see them, they said he was a lead singer, songwriter, acoustic player, and bouncer. But we had a deal. We'd cut a deal with the manager of the dive. We'd say, hey, if we bring you this much money, and we had a really good following. So if you bring this much money in, I'll bonus you at the end of the night. Well, if a fight broke out, the place would clear out, and they'd go to another bar down the street, and we wouldn't get our bonus. So second, I'd see a fight break out, I'd try to get it broke up and get them out the door so we didn't lose our bonus. It was all about the dollars, baby.
Trying to now because everyone when did you know you play the guitar and could sing? I mean, when that guy said, hey, we need a singer, were you already singing, or were you already playing the guitar?
Yeah, interesting. So my grandmother played piano and had a supper club with a two-piece horn band, upright bass, drummer, baby grand piano. She had a supper club in Fort Smith. It was very, very popular. So as a kid, she bought me a guitar when I was 8 years old. So I started learning chords on it when I was 8 years old. Well, the singing part was a gift of God because she played and sang, and my mother had a recording contract with Capitol Records when she was 20, and she gave it up to have me and moved out to Clinton, Oklahoma with my dad.
Uh-huh.
So my mom could sing. And then, of course, you've heard my daughter, she had a recording deal. So that's given down, through our genes. But the guitar part, my grandmother got me a guitar. And so I would go stay with her in the summer times when I was a kid. And one night, the guitar player had a Masonic Lodge meeting each week, and he wouldn't be there, and they would go without a guitar player. And she would let me take my guitar up there, and they wouldn't plug me in or nothing, but I'd sit up there and play. And everybody danced by and say, there's Hilda's grandson, and I thought I was something,
How old were you?
I was probably 10.
And you wrote a song
8 to 12. Do what?
You wrote a song about that.
Yeah, Clancy's Tavern. I wrote a song about
Tavern, yeah.
That was an album. That was an album title. And in fact, that's the song that I sang at the Songwriters Hall of Fame in New York when I said, this is the reason I'm here, is because my grandmother got me a guitar, and I was bitten by the bug early, and So it was never a single, but I wanted to sing that and honor her. But that tells the whole story. That's a true story.
Yeah, that's awesome. 10 years old, you're sitting in with the band. That's
Yeah.
great. Hey, and then I get the chance of 99. I know about you. I know your songs. And my first year at Oklahoma. And then the next year, 2000, of course, we go on that unbelievable run, being undefeated. And we're in the national championship game. And I see, hey, the guy singing the national anthem. I go, that's our guy. I go, that's Toby. That's Toby Keith. That's our, like, I knew from around. I go, I'm hitting somebody next to me. I already felt good about the game. Like we couldn't go wrong, you know. And I said, on top of it, I go, that's our guy out there. I go, oh hell yeah. I go, I just knew. I go, we're winning this game. And you
Well,
sing the national anthem, and then we hang out all night after the game. We had a party. The Orange Bowl put on a party for no end. Went till they grabbed me at 6 a.m. to go get showered to go to ESPN interviews and whatnot. But we hung. That's when I first got to know you in 2000, and we've been running around ever since. But that was pretty neat. You being at our national championship game and singing the national anthem.
You know what was fate was the year before I was playing amphitheater, West Palm Beach or somewhere down there. And the Orange Bowl guys were there, and they said, what we got to do to get you to sing the anthem at the Orange Bowl next year? And I said, just ask. I'll come down and do it. Well, then you guys go on an unbelievable run. I'm already scheduled to play. Y'all get there, and as I come out, you know, Florida State's an agriculture. You know, it's Florida State's like country people. They got a lot of country fans there. So I walk out, and they're all cheering, you know, because a country guy's there. And then I go out and sing the anthem, and I come over your sideline, they start booing me. So, they go, oh, he's a Sooner. Oh, no.
And then you were kind enough. We get home maybe a week later, 5 days later. We have the celebration at the stadium for everybody, for the fans to come and the team to be recognized. And we show the highlights of the season, and most of them with seniors. And you sing "How Do You Like Me Now?" Because our seniors had been beat up. They hadn't had a winning year in 4, 5, 6 years ahead of this national championship. And that was pretty special. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, that song was perfect for that, and that song had just been number one for 3 weeks. That was album of the year, and so it was all timing was good on it. Great celebration. You know, I want to talk about this before I forget about it, but you're too humble to talk about it. But Drake's playing his butt off. He's the epitome. He's the example of what football players do and what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to respond and act. And the whole Sooner Nation couldn't be prouder of Drake. And I know back when Kelvin Sampson was here, we had a big Christmas party at my house, and we've talked about this story before, but I want to tell it. My son Steelan was little, and he had a bed that was built like a rock cave, like a caveman cave, and it had a dinosaur up on top of it and a rope ladder. And you brought them twins over here, Drake and Isaac, and we put all the kids upstairs. We were down having a glass of wine and watching football and having a big feast on. And Josie and Kelvin and maybe Sherry Cole, the whole crew was here out here at my ranch. And I go upstairs, and them two boys are doing swan dives off the top of that rock cave and hitting the foot of the bed, which is only about 3 foot exposed, and then bouncing over into the wall. And I came down there. I said, Bob, you better come up here and look at these boys. I said they're little bitty. I mean, they weren't very old, and they were like 3 or 4, and they were just head diving 8-10 feet, hitting the head first on the foot of that bed, and then bouncing over into the wall, and then running fast they could and climb that ladder again. You went up there and you said, hey, every time they get stitches, it always starts. How does it start at the hospital when they get stitches?
So how did this happen? You know, they want to know the story, and it always starts with, well, my brother and I.
Yeah.
Every time.
Well,
no doubt.
Well, you and Carol are way too humble, but it's time to start bragging on him. The Sooner Nation's proud to have him, and I don't know how we'll replace him next year, but he's been a wonderful Sooner, and he fits right into your teaching and coaching. He does everything right, and we're proud of him. So I had to say that.
I appreciate it, Big T. He's got that OU DNA hashtag. He was born with it, right? Like
That's right.
Funny story, real quick. Kellen Sampson, Kelvin's son, was coaching them when they were like 5 in the in the camp they have every summer. So Kellen, it's the last minute of the game. Kellen just said, "Don't let him score. Just don't. Whatever you do, don't let him score. Don't let him get the ball." What do you think? The kid goes down the court. What do you think Drake does? He tackled
him.
Yeah, he tackled him.
Of course.
Kellen was dying laughing, telling me, he literally just said, "Don't let him get the ball," so he tackled him where he couldn't hit the ball. But
well, that's what he knew best.
Yeah, that's what he's taught to do. Well, Big T, we're excited to see you in Las Vegas, right? What are the dates again? Las Vegas, you got a couple of shows coming up.
So we're gonna go the 10th and 11th, and then they said if everything goes well, they're gonna add some more shows. But we don't know what I haven't worked in 2 years, so we're just gonna go figure it out. But it's a great opportunity to get back out. You can't, like my sister told me, she said, "You got cancer, but cancer don't have you." So, I'm doing good. Just because I'm going through treatments, I just can't sit around. This is the first 2 years of my whole life I've ever been off work.
Right.
And so I got to get busy, and you just can't let it define your future. You just have to keep looking forward and going. And it's been a wonderful outpouring of prayers. Every single person walks up and says, "Hey, we're praying for you, we're pulling for you," and that kind of stuff, and keeping a positive attitude goes good. But I've been very blessed, and I've lived 10 lifetimes, so I've got my brain wrapped around all this. I'm a man of faith, and I know what I'm doing, and the Almighty's riding shotgun. So we're just gonna get our jam back on.
I love it. Now, I've heard you, been around you here in the last few months. You've been out singing, and you always sound great, of course. And Carol and I and our whole crew here in Norman will be there with you in Vegas. You bet on that. So you're coming to join me on this, and I know you and I are both part here of partnership with Sellout Crowd. So this has been fun, Big T. I appreciate you sharing whatever.
And we're getting ready to have our party. And I'm also probably going to start some kind of a crazy podcast. I'm just looking for which direction to do it. But, I can get all the old Sooners on here too. And I get a lot of entertainers on here. So if there's a spot for that, I'm probably going to. But I guess I just want to know, I got to get it in my head what direction to do. But I'd like to have some kind of a fun little podcast myself.
You think that wouldn't be good?
How
long before you got Sammy Hagar on there with you?
Yeah, and or anybody, any of them knuckleheads.
Yeah, absolutely. You're the best.
Live from Cabo.
Absolutely, you're the best, Big T. Appreciate you joining us here today.
Glad to do it, Bob. I'll see you tonight.
All right, bro. That wraps up this installation of Conversations with Coach. Follow and subscribe to this channel, and visit selloutcrowd.com to find out about upcoming programs.